The thing about getting an insurance for something is that it easily becomes a legal matter, because despite the initial purpose of protecting the customer from accidents and provide sufficient aid during emergencies, it is simply human nature trying to avoid paying up, at the very least to not pay more than necessary. So by the time you need to make use of your insurance, you shouldn't be surprised if the insurance company tries to find any and all loopholes and excuses as to why they cannot cover for the damages inflicted upon you. But that level of greed cuts both ways. It is very possible that the customer will purposefully try to inflict damage and injury upon themselves, so that they are able to cash in and profit from their insurance. Even long before Luigi Mangione murdered Brian Thompson, the late CEO of United Healthcare, I understood that there is a really dark side in the insurance industry. But this incident seems to have indeed made people speak out on a far larger scale than ever before. It has now become a lot easier to find videos and articles covering the incident, with plenty of comments from people telling their own stories about how their lives were, figuratively and literally, robbed by these companies refusing to do as they were paid to do. Murder is never a solution in a civil society. Even in self-defense, it should be an absolute last resort. But when these companies turn a blind eye towards the people they were paid to help, people who ended up succumbing to their disease because of it, it becomes easy to understand why all of this was pushed to such a breaking point. Of course, there is a significant number of people who just want a reason to kill and eat the rich, but I implore you to ignore those fools for this instance. Indeed, it is a very strange game, rooted in hoping for the best and preparing for the worst, so to say. In the free world, we should have the choice to not have insurance if we truly believe there is no benefit to be gained from this kind of game. So, what exactly do people hope to accomplish by making it mandatory by the law to have insurance? Obamacare set out to provide sufficient health care and insurance for all, the poor especially. But for some reason, you had to pay an additional tax penalty at tax time if you didn't have insurance. For anyone with common sense, that should be an immediate red flag. After all, if you are already poor, who is to say that you can actually afford to pay for an insurance plan? Being poor and being healthy are not mutually exclusive. So there are poor people who may believe there is no need to place their bets on insurance, but rather their own health. Even in Norway, there's a penalty for merely not having insurance on your motor vehicle. We are not allowed to choose to cross that bridge when we get there. We are going to feel safe, whether we like it or not. How reassuring, I guess. Anyone should understand that when the government is deliberately taking away your freedom to choose these things, then they aren't really serving the people. Assuming they ever did, but I digress. But as is written in the title of this video, fear tends to cloud rational and critical thinking. When we aren't able to seek comfort and protection in our own abilities, we turn towards other people. At that point, however, it may be impossible to distinguish allies from enemies. Then there is the question of what worth there is in becoming a doctor, if you're only funded by the poor, and unable to act because of conflicting insurance policies from the higher-ups. Taxing the rich may help in order to compensate for taking on the noble role as a medical professional, but it won't lift people out of poverty. Never has, never will. Healthy or unhealthy, placing universal healthcare above their own wish to escape poverty, they will remain poor all the same. And there is no medicine that can cure fools, no matter how much money we throw at that problem. Bluntly put, I don't want to pay for foolish people, because it never ends. When the government makes it mandatory to have insurance, you can bet insurance companies will benefit greatly from it. After all, it then becomes a market people are forced to participate in. Even after there is no longer a tax penalty for not having insurance, you really can't expect a government which once forced you to have insurance to help with legal matters when an insurance company tries to cheap out on you. They didn't care about you back then, so why would they now? As the saying usually goes, our downfall is only caused by our own actions. Keep voting for a government which is in cahoots with these evil corporations. You will continue to reap what you sow. You may even continue to advocate for murder in the name of justice. You will continue to cause an even bigger mess from the one you helped create in the first place. I suppose there's one silver lining to come out of this whole fiasco. Whenever social programs fail miserably, capitalism and private corporations tend to always get the blame. People tend to become fearless when they are either pushed to a breaking point or simply drowning in their own delusions. Which one do you think Luigi was?
Shooting at targets and shooting at living, breathing people are different. Unfortunately, killing is one of those things that gets easier the more you do it. In a war, all of mankind's worst emotions, worst traits come out. It's easy to forget what a sin is in the middle of a battlefield.
But this isn't a war.